Hi students, a very pleasant and warm greetings to you all. Hope you are doing good. In last session we have seen about the output devices, right? So you know what is input device and what is output device, and we have seen so many examples on this input and output devices. Today we'll just see about the booting of computer. Here we have two types of booting, and we'll see the process and the meaning of booting a computer, and then we'll just have a recap of all those examples of input output devices, components and generations, and everything about the computer. We'll just have a recap. Okay, first let's see the explanation for booting. Booting, what, from this word booting, what you are getting into your mind? Booting means it's a process of loading. Okay, so here any OS is operating system. Okay, in this operating system is the basic software which will make a system to work. Okay, if you are having a computer, if no OS is installed, it will not work. Okay, so this operating system only will help the computer to operate. Okay, so when a computer is switched on, there will be no information in the RAM. Okay, at the same time, in ROM, some pre-written programs will be there, and it is called power on self test. Okay, post means power on self test. Okay, this will be executed first when you are switching on. In ROM nothing will be there. For the first time if you are switching on a computer, in RAM no information will be there. In ROM some pre-written information will be there, and those pre-written information or pre-written instructions, we can say that instructions as program also. Some pre-written programs, they are called post, that is power on self test. Okay, this will be executed first. This program will check if the devices like RAM, this keyboard and all are connected properly, or whether they are ready to operate. These things and all, this will check. If these devices are ready and if they are connected in a proper manner, then the BIOS will execute. BIOS means nothing but basic input output system. Okay, so if you are having any issue with your laptop, sometimes you would have heard that when the service person say that some BIOS complaint, or some we have to just reboot the BIOS, like that they will say. BIOS means it's nothing but basic input output system. That is only BIOS. Okay, so this gets executed once the keyboard, monitor, everything are ready. This BIOS will be executed. Okay, this process of executing the BIOS, once these devices are ready, this BIOS will be executed, right? This process only we'll say it as booting. Okay, then after that a program called bootstrap loader, this will transfer OS from hard disk to main memory. Okay, now this OS gets loaded as it may be Windows or Linux or Ubuntu, any OS. Okay, this will get executed. Okay, so the process of booting means this process of loading all the set of instructions or set of programs, and to check whether the connected devices are ready. After everything, this system will start to load up, right? This system will boot and it will open. So that process of booting with operating system or OS is booting. Okay, I'll just explain this about booting once more. Booting, in this booting, first you have to know about OS. OS is operating system. This is the basic software which will make the computer to work. Okay, this computer is when it is switched on, there will be no information in the RAM, right? In RAM no information will be there. Only in ROM some pre-written programs will be there. Those pre-written programs which are present in ROM are known as post. That is stands for power on self test. Okay, this will be executed first, and this program will check whether the devices like RAM, keyboard and all are connected properly, whether it is ready to operate, like that, and all it will check. Okay, if these keyboard, RAM and all are ready, then the BIOS gets executed. BIOS means basic input output system. Okay, this BIOS gets executed. So this process is known as booting. Okay, so here a program called bootstrap loader. This will transfer the OS from hard disk into the main memory. Okay, so this OS gets loaded. OS means in operating systems. We will have Windows operating system, Linux operating system, Ubuntu operating system. Likewise, so many operating systems are there. Mostly in our home or in our school and all, we'll be using Windows operating system only. In Windows also, we have so many versions. We'll see that in the next chapters. Okay, and this will be executed. So here in this booting, we have two types. First one is cold booting and the another one is warm booting. Okay, cold booting means when the system starts from this initial state. That means when the system is switched on, we call it as cold booting or hard booting. Okay, when the system is switched on, the initial stage of the system when it starts is known as cold booting or hard booting. Hard booting only we'll say it as cold booting also. When the user presses the power button, the instructions will be read from the ROM to initiate the booting process. Okay, the instructions will be given when this power button is clicked. Okay, when you are just clicking the power button only, the system will start to open, right? When the system will open. So when this power button is hit, the instructions will be read from a ROM to initiate the booting process. Okay, so this is known as cold booting or hard booting. And the other type of booting is warm booting. Warm booting means when the system restarts or when a reset button is pressed, we call it as warm booting or soft booting. Okay, the system does not start from the initial stage, so the all diagnostic tests no need to be carried out again. So if you say, I'll say it in simple words, here in this warm booting, only when you restart a computer or when you click on the reset button, it will just switch off and again it will on, right? At that time, as we saw in cold booting or as we saw in booting definition, at this time, this diagnostics or the working of a device, maybe a keyboard or a monitor, this RAM, this workings and all, no need to be tested because this just restarts or this is just switching off and again it is on, right? So this diagnostic test need not to be carried out in this case of warm booting. Okay, or soft booting. There are chances of data loss and system damage as the data might not have been stored properly. Here in this warm booting, if you see, suddenly sometimes the system will go off and again it will on. At this time, we won't be saving the data there, right? So sometimes those data may be lost also. In cold booting, if you see, first time when you are switching on the system, it will just boot up and on, right? So that process is cold booting. Once the system is on and when you are working, if you are restarting it again or when the reset button is clicked, it is known as warm booting. In this case, it will not start from the starting initial stage. It will just start from the half only. It will just go off and it will on, right? So here this diagnostics tests and all won't be carried out, and also there are chances of losing data and system may damage as the data might not be stored properly and all. Suddenly when you are working on the system or suddenly when the power is off, if the laptop or computer goes off, this will cause damage to the system. Okay, so here this warm booting is not safe. Okay, once all the works are done, if you are switching off the system and if you are switching on the system manually, it's okay. But once the work is going on, if you are suddenly clicking the restart or reset button, means what happens means the system will suddenly go off. So the data which is present in the word or whatever work you are doing, sometimes it may be lost. Sometimes it may be saved in some place, but most of the time it may be You may be losing those data when you are running the system. Sometimes some recovery, due to some recovery options, you may get the same page back again, or sometimes everything will be closed. It will just start like when you are starting the computer for the first time. So this is warm booting. So I think you would have got a clear idea about booting, cold booting and warm booting, right? And some points to remember has also been there in your lessons. In all the lessons, you will have some points to remember. You have to just read them out. Okay, I'll just read it now for you. After getting the book, you make sure you read this point to remember our glossary section also. Okay, computers are seen everywhere around us in all spheres of life. You know that computers are seen everywhere, right? In It is a electronic device that process the input according to the set of instructions, or it will process the input data according to the set of programs which is provided to it and gives a desired output at a very fast rate. Okay, based on various stages of development, computers can be divided into 6 different generations. We saw that first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation and sixth generation, right? And then computer is a combination of hardware and software. You know what is hardware and what is software, right? Hardware means it is a physical component of a computer. Software means it is a set of programs or instructions given to the computer to do some task. Okay. Input unit. Input unit means it is used to feed any form of data into the computer. Okay. Next one is processing units. In processing unit, you know CPU. CPU interrupts and executes software instructions. Okay. ALU. ALU means arithmetic and logic unit. This is a part of the CPU where various computing functions are performed on data. And the next one is control unit. Control unit means it controls the flow of data between CPU, memory, input output devices and all, right? And the another device, another unit is output unit. Output unit means it is any hardware component that conveys the information to one or more people in user understandable form. Okay, the user will get the output, right? So those outputs are received by the help of this output unit only. Okay, and the another one unit is memory unit. Memory unit means it is of two kinds. It's of primary memory and secondary memory. Memory means it is the place where the data or the instructions, all these things will be saved. Okay, so here in this chapter we have seen the introduction to computers, right? First we saw about computer, the father of computer, you know, Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage is the father of computer, and he invented this analytical concept of analytical engine in the year 1837, right? So about the inventions and all we saw, and you know the definition for computer also. Computer means it is an electronic device. You'll give a input there and a process will take place as per your instructions. You'll give a set of programs or set of instructions. As per the instructions, the particular task will be executed and you will get the output in any form through output unit, right? So you have seen the generations of computer also. First generation 1940 to 1956, and second generation 1956 to 1964, third generation 1964 to 1971, fourth generation 1971 to 1980, fifth generation is 1980 to till date, and sixth generation is in future. Okay, sixth generation means it is the connect between the human brain and the robot or the robotics, right? In fifth generation, if you see, it is ultra large scale integration. Fourth generation, it is microprocessor. Here you will have very large scale integrated circuit. And here in third generation, I saw that integrated circuits are the main component, and in second generation it's transistor, and in first generation you all know that it is vacuum tubes, right? And then we saw about sixth generation computing, data and information, and also we saw about the difference in data and information. The raw data which is collected to process is known as data, and the processed information which is got from the collection of facts are known as information. right? So you saw about components of computer also. Components, first we know what is hardware and what is software, and then we saw the components. Here we'll have input unit, processing unit, and output unit. In processing unit, we'll have central processing unit. Here we have three components: control unit, arithmetic and logic unit, ALU, and memory unit, right? Arithmetic and logic unit means here you will perform some arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and logical operations, right? In control unit, it controls the flow of data between the CPU, memory, and input-output devices. And then output unit, here any hardware that uh, conveys the information to the user in an understandable form is the output unit, right? And memory unit, here you will have primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is volatile, secondary memory is non-volatile. Here in primary memory, the content will be lost once the power supply is off. In the secondary memory, if you see, the content will be there. It is like a permanent memory. Okay, in primary memory, this is a temporary storage. Okay, and then we saw about input and output devices also. In input devices, we saw about keyboard, mouse, scanner, fingerprint scanner, trackball, retinal scanner, light pen, optical character reader, barcode or QR code reader, voice input systems, digital camera, touch screen, keyer, right? So we have seen about these many input devices, and also in output devices we saw about monitor, plotter, printers. In printers we have seen about impact printers and non-impact printers. In impact printers we saw in detail about the dot matrix printer and line matrix printer. In non-impact printer we saw about laser printer and inkjet printer, and also we saw some other output devices also like speaker, multimedia projectors and all. And at last, today we have seen about booting of computer, right? In booting, we saw about cold booting and warm booting, right? So you are clear with this first chapter, and I have asked you to write about generations of computer and also the components of computer in your note. So you would have completed the works also. Just learn them well and try to find out the book back answers also. Okay, it's in the PDF. Book is there in PDF in your group. You can just refer book and you can just write those 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark and all questions in your note, and just find the answers from the book and just write it down and learn it. Okay. If you are feeling difficult in finding any of the answers, means you can contact me. I'll give you those answers. Okay. If you are finding any difficult in finding answers for 1 mark, 2 mark or 3 mark, means you can just ask me and you can just write it down. Okay, I'll send it. And then 5 marks, if you see, you have studied the components of computer and generations of computer. These two are the important 5 marks. And we have another one 5 mark also. There they have asked about inkjet printer, multimedia projector, barcode or QR code reader. So about this inkjet printer, multimedia projector and this barcode or QR code reader also we have seen. You can just learn those paragraphs separately and you can just write them also in your note. Okay, and I hope that before attending the next session you will be thorough with this first chapter. Okay, thank you for your valuable time. Stay home, stay safe, take care, bye.